Sofia is a certified nutritional practitioner and a graduate of IHN. She graduated with honors. Also has a master's degree in science and is the founder of Feel Like Spring Nutrition and Wellness Clinic in Toronto. And in her quest to help people attain their true balance of mind, body, and spirit, she incorporates into her practice several other modalities like energy medicine, Reiki, reflexology. And over her 18 years of experience in the industrial and corporate world, really kind of gives her the understanding of the importance of that harmony between work and personal time. So I think, Sofia, like many of us, it was kind of through your own health challenges that you were drawn to this field, and obviously the IHN program. And now you're able to help clients kind of blossom and reach their full potential. And Sofia teaches nutritional symptomatology at our Ontario and online campuses. So without further ado, over to you, Sofia.
Thank you, Jason. I hope you hear me well, right?
I can hear you, yeah. Okay,
great. So hello, everybody. I'm not sure which part of the world you are zooming in from, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. It's evening right now in Toronto. So as Jason said, I did have another life, as I call it, in the corporate world, and with lots of stress and lots of, and what I tell you about today, it's, I lived through it. So it's not only the theory here, it's part of my life. And it's part of why, or the cause of why, not the cause, but the reason why I became a nutritionist, and I help a lot of other people to go through or to navigate that stress response of the body and to get better and to heal themselves from that stress. So I will share the screen with my presentation, which I see it here, and hopefully everybody sees it. And at the end, as usual, you're going to have lots of time to ask questions. And there you go. Jason, let me know if it's all okay.
All good.
Okay, cool. Okay, super. So I've been teaching online for a year and a half, but you never know. There's always glitches, right? So today we're going to talk about how to elevate stress, or how to mitigate that stress response, actually, with nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle modifications. And first of all, why do we even talk about that? And this is something, I put like 2 slides here just as a comparison for you to see. This is a comparison to the slide that I had some years ago when I was talking about stress. And according to 2010 General Social Survey, 27% of Canadian workers describe their lives on most days as quite a bit or extremely stressed, so 25%, 27%. This means that almost 3.7 million working adults went through a regular day feeling a high level of stress. Another 6.3 million, or 46%, said that they were a bit stressed. And this is coming from Stats Canada, by the way. And comparison, what was last year? And I did not see any surveys, actually, very recent one from 2021. But this was something that can age. And people who live in Toronto or people who live in Canada know what that organization does. And this is a policy advice. They're written by them on July 2020, and it's about mental health in Canada, COVID-19 and beyond. And keep in mind that this is only a few months into the shutdown, right? We started in March 2020. So they're saying that many people seeing their stress levels double since the onset of the pandemic. People struggling with fear, uncertain about health, finance, social isolation, physical distancing. 50% of Canadians reported worsening mental health since the pandemic began, and many feeling worried, 44%, anxious, 41%. 1 in 10 Canadians said that their mental health has worsened a lot. In a survey of Canadian workers, 81%, as opposed to 27% some time ago, 81% reported that pandemic is negatively impacting their mental health. Substance abuse, people in Canada know already. I'm not sure in the rest of the world what happened, but I think it was kind of the same response of the population. 25% of the Canadians aged 35 to 54 said, and 21% of the ones 18 to 34 have increased their alcohol, cannabis, tobacco consumption since the pandemic, social isolation or social distancing. And I'm not even talking about, there's some somber actually numbers there, statistics about consumption of street drugs and death because of that and so on. So it's a really, really a big need. If it wasn't even before, now it's a big need for us to talk about, okay, we are all stressed. Stress is not going to go away for a while. What do we do? And how do we help ourselves? How do we help our families? So there is hope and there are solutions. Some of them are simple to implement. Some of them take longer to implement. With more knowledge, information, and some simple changes in our diet, lifestyle, and learning how to build resilience to stress, we can help minimize any negative effects and prevent disease, actually, because a stress for a long period of time, it does actually trickle into all kinds of diseases. And I'm going to present some of them. Actually, they are related directly to stress. And on this slide, I just want to stress that word there, build resilience, because even myself, I thought, you know what, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing meditation, I'm fine, I am balanced. Like I know, I have a lot of times stress, and sometimes I work a little bit too much or I teach too much, combination of them. But I know how to not get into where I was about 17 years ago when I almost died a few times actually because of stress and what that did to my body. And it took me by surprise last year, 2 months into pandemic, and I was like crying. I was like maybe depressed, not really, but I didn't know actually how to deal with the situation and so on. I thought, oh, wow, if I'm not prepared, like how many other millions of people are not really prepared to deal with this, right? So today we're going to find about what stress is. So a little bit of definition there, some theory, cause of stress, other than, lockdowns and stuff like that, symptoms and mechanisms of stress a little bit to understand where is it coming from and what we have to support, what we have to do. The cortisol connection to disease, and most of you have learned or heard about cortisol. Cortisol is one of the stress hormones, and unfortunately it's a stress hormone that to some extent actually is protecting our body not to kind of fall apart, not to get really sick or to die. If it's too low, that can happen. But if it's too high for a long period of time, that really breaks down every organ and every tissue in our body. So we're going to see a little bit of that mechanism there. And how to elevate stress. So some of you, if you're not here because you want to join us. Maybe you're here because you want to hear this presentation or the presentations that were today. So we're going to talk about key nutritional supports, very basic stuff that everybody can do right away. Lifestyle changes, some of them can be done right away. Some of them will take a longer time. Exercise, stress management, minus some spiritual practices to build resilience. And again, I'm talking about resilience here mostly. So what is stress? There is a Nobel Prize nominee who died some time ago, but in 1936, he defined it, and his name was János Szély, Hungarian by descendants. So he defined it as non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. And this is, we're talking today mostly about stress, or even everybody is talking or thinking about mental stress, but it's not only mental stress. It's even, like environment stress, the pressure, the temperature, the radiation and everything, literally everything. And maybe the second definition is more kind of revealing there. Daniel Sofia, PhD, defined it as physical, chemical, or emotional factors that causes bodily or mental tension. So it's not only mental, but body tension as well. And any change that requires mental, physiological, biochemical adaptation, right? So even chemicals that are put into the body, one or another one, or we are surrounded by them for mental, even those ones do require our body actually to resist, to adapt to them, not to die practically. So some of the types are like very big types of stresses. So by the way, this particular slide, it's a slide from my course, Symptomatology, Advanced Symptomatology. We go talking about causes of disease, and some of these are here. We're talking about them for 4 hours practically in my course. So types of stressors, chemicals, internal and environmental, radiations, environmental, medical procedures, diet or habits and nutrition, lifestyle like work, family habits, family life, family habits, emotional, mental, psychic, emotional, spiritual, even sexual. So this is kind of a useless, in a way. I thought about it, maybe I should take it off. It's a useless question. Are you stressed? Have you ever been stressed, and does it feel good? And obviously everybody will tell me dull, like, sure, I've been stressed, especially for the last year and a half, and maybe been stressed before. We all have some reasons to be stressed in our lifetime. Life, it's, you know it already. If you're an adult, life is not all rosy. It does have stressful times. So does it feel good? Obviously it doesn't. So how does it feel really? What are some of the symptoms or physiological response of the body? And this is coming from a huge report, actually, by American Psychological Association, named Stress in America Findings. And it's published in USA, but Canada and the rest of the world, really, it's the same. You can talk about the same physiological response of the body. So number one, I posted it here by percentage. So the worst one, irritability and anger. And we all, I think, we went through that for the past year and a half. Fatigue, lack of interest, motivation of energy, feeling nervous or anxious, even panic attacks, right? It's one of them. Headaches, feeling depressed or sad, feeling as though you could cry, indigestion, or any kind of gastrointestinal problems there. Muscular tension, change in appetite, teeth grinding. Bruxism, it's called that in medical terms. Change in sex drive, which is dampening the sex drive. Tightness in the chest, feeling faint or dizzy. Change in menstrual cycle, with sometimes even losing the menstrual cycle for the women because of stress, and erectile dysfunction for men. And there are many others. So these are the very, 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 very top ones only. Stress is involved by the Medical Association, is involved. They say stress is involved as a causal factor in more than 80% of all non-infectious diseases, and actually 80% of the visits to hospitals and to medical clinics. So it's very important to talk about it and know what to do about it. This another source is going by showing you how the damage is done, actually, and how biology is affected, biology of the body, physiology of the body is affected per, systems of the body, like gastrointestinal system. And we all have, some of us maybe had diarrhea, high stress, or maybe indigestion, constipation, even irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, which is so common. I cannot even tell you how many clients I have that come in with IBS. Diagnostic there, and lots of it, if not all of it, is because of some stress, some kind of stress or trauma. Musculoskeletal system, tension, headaches, backache, muscle pain, even skin, eczema, and acne. Are they associated with stress? Yes. It's a big part of how they manifest, and it's a big part of flare-up of both of them. Genitourinary system, like diuresis, too much peeing, urinating, practically. Again, I have a lot of clients that come with that. Impotence, rigidity in women, impotence in men. Pulmonary system, asthma. Yes, asthma can be triggered many times. It's triggered by even panic attacks, high fever, and so on. Central nervous system. I wrote it with red stuff. That I'm pretty sure some of it you experienced for the past year and a half or 2 years. Particularly lethargy, depression, insomnia, memory problems, concentration, focus problems, irritability, moodiness, restlessness, anxiety, and panic attacks. Can lead to coronary system issues, cardiovascular disease, especially high blood pressure. Endocrine system, can lead to diabetes. It's one of the causes, actually, of diabetes, other than eating too much sugar and all that stuff. Early menopause, infertility, hypothyroidism is linked directly with adrenals. We'll talk a little bit about adrenals next to see what that is. An immune system response. And this is so important to understand. That low white blood cells, I see it frequently in a lot of my new clients, frequently. And I know exactly, it's either, if it's really, really low, either they have an acute viral infection. For instance, I had 2 clients 2 or 3 years ago, coming from one Mexico, one from Jamaica, I believe. They had Zika virus, and then immediately which hospital to send them. You know what? You have a viral infection. But most of the time, it's not the viral infection. Most of the time, it's stress. And I can see really, really, really how, unfortunately, how that immune depression, we call it, is happening because of stress in a lot of a lot of the clients that come to me. Autoimmune disease, I had one. I battled with Hashimoto's some time ago. This is one of the reasons why I joined IHN, by the way. And I can say that I beat it. It took me about 4 years to do it. There was no books, nothing about Hashimoto's at that point in time. Now there's a few books in the market, and thus I had to find my own way how to do that. I had to reverse that. I can tell you I'm specialized in autoimmune diseases and cancers. And I do not see, and it's impossible practically to have an autoimmune disease without having very long stress into your body and depressed adrenals because of the stress. So why do we react to that? Is this normal? Well, it's normal up to a point. Our body's reaction to stress, or what we call the fight or flight response, it's identical to the reaction of our ancestors and ensures actually our survival. If you would not have that, you would be in the middle of the street, there a car, a bus is coming, and you would just sit there looking at it because you will not react to it, right? The problem, it's a different one. Our ancestors were fighting for their food, or fighting between themselves. We fight with other things. There's a fundamental difference between us and our ancestors. This is what we juggle with today. We are dealing with stress on a daily basis, and we don't have downtime. If you're a mother, you know exactly what you're going through. If you're a father too, it's not only mothers that care for children, but there's a lot of stressors, and that no downtime does not give actually our adrenal glands time to actually recuperate and to bounce back. And it can depress them for a long time, and if you don't know what to do with them. So let's talk a little bit about mechanism of stress here. When we feel stressed, what gland or what organ is there doing something? Obviously, it's the brain, because it's part of the brain. Hypothalamus is called, right? And it's the next slide here. Hypothalamus is kind of there, in the middle of the brain there. Is the gland actually that is perceives through all our senses, what we hear, what we see, what we smell, what we touch us on, perceives our exterior world, and then compares to our interior world. What is the body doing, the organs and so on, and then makes some decisions, how many hormones or how much hormones to do, how to give the information of those hormones to another gland, pituitary gland, and then pituitary gland is going to give the information to those adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are giving us the response to stress. And if the adrenal glands are weakened, and sometimes they're very, very weakened, like I was 17 years ago, and I really was at some point almost died because they're so low function. When the adrenals are functioning really, really low, even the heart does not know how to beat. And literally, if the adrenals, hopefully, never is going to happen that for anybody, but it happens for some people. So when the adrenal glands shut down, the body really shuts down, the dies. So they're very, very important glands to take care of. So going back to this one, the adrenal glands are literally like two little hats. Like literally, they're like small hats. They're a little bit smaller than this. It's not like kind of one-to-one drawing here. So we have a right adrenal gland and a left adrenal gland. They look a little bit different, the right and the left one. And they're right on top of the kidneys. Literally, they are linked to the kidneys. And it's very interesting because from a Western medicine point of view, there's not much link between the two organs or the gland and the organ. But from an emotional, somebody I heard asking Jason about energy medicine. Yes, we have some fantastic actually teachers at IHN that talk about energy medicine. And there's a full course about it, a course that you can take about energy medicine. I took that course twice because it was fascinating me from the beginning to understand that, for instance, fear that we all went through, and maybe some of you are still going through what's going on right now, fear affects negatively the kidneys. And you literally can disease a kidney just because that constant fear. And very interesting that fear is not going only through your brain, but it's going through the adrenal glands. So really these two have much more than the physical touch of each other. They do work together to some extent. So what that says here is the cortex, and cortex is the outside layer. It makes specific hormones, the adrenal hormones, and medulla makes other hormones. So we're not going to go into that detail. In class, by the way, in symptomatology, advanced symptomatology, we talk about 4 hours about this stuff. And then we link it to another 3.5 or 4 hours, link it to another axis, this HB axis, another axis that involves thyroid, actually, and they work together. So what is the high cortisol with the disease? What's the connection there? Why, if you have, they're very, very stressed and we have very high cortisol, what's going to happen? Well, we have indigestion to begin with. This is the first thing, and it's logical because the body does not have so much energy actually for digestion. If we're stressed out, we have to run or fight with somebody, right? We form fight or flight response there. Reduced transit time for some people, that means diarrhea, really. And some people have it, some people not, because of stress, high stress, and that means the nutrients are not absorbed. That means the whole body actually is going to go down in function because of that. Small intestine inflammation. Every time we're stressed, it's massive inflammation, actually, even of the brain, not only of the small intestine. But because of that, we have what we call a leaky gut. And we talk a lot at IHN in like 3 or 4 different courses about leaky gut. Intestinal permeability, food allergies, food sensitivities, misery, literally, everyday misery, nutrient deficiencies, and so on. I put it on the gastrointestinal system, low serotonin levels, a feel-good hormone. Why? Why did I put it there? Why didn't you put them in the neural? Because about 80% of that serotonin is made in the gut. So you have a leaky gut, you have a gut that is not working well, gut is stressed out, you're not going to feel good either. Right? So appetite control is going to go highway pain perception. So everything is more painful. Moodiness, insomnia, depression. Central nervous system. It has been proven in many studies that unfortunately the high cortisol levels for a long time do bring in some people shrinkage of the brain, also damage of the brain in the structure and connectivity. That's where all that stress response comes from in long term. That's where depression comes from, anxiety, panic attacks, and so on. Pancreas and liver are 2 organs that are suffering from high cortisol levels and overburdens the liver, and you end up with fatty liver, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Everybody that I know, or most of the people that I know and I have in my practice that come with fatty liver, I immediately look at their adrenals. And most of the time, it's not what they eat. Most of the time, it's how stressed they are. Raised blood sugar levels overburdens the pancreas, insulin resistance, diabetes type 2, and so on. Yes, from stress response. Reproductive system, and I mentioned that already on another slide there, that PMS for women, estrogen dominance many times, progesterone is low, and because of that, some women actually, it happens that miscarry or they are straightforward infertile. Low testosterone, low libido for men, impotence, rigidity for women. Thyroid, very high cortisol impairs actually production of thyroid hormones. And many times I see, actually this morning, I had a client that was put on thyroid hormones. I'm looking at her adrenals. Their adrenals are done. Man, we have to work with the adrenals. It's not the thyroid. The thyroid suffers because of the adrenals. It's not the thyroid that we have to treat, right? So, okay, we're stressed. Everybody's stressed to some extent or another. What do we do about it? How can we help? Simple help that we can do every day of our life. We can teach our family members. We can teach our kids. And this is why I talk so much publicly many times. And this is how it's my clients, some of them are saying like, oh my God, you go to Sofia, and it's like, literally, she's in class. And I realize that many times I go into that teaching mode. But I realized very early in my practice that, hey, if you teach the person, if you teach your client why it has to do what it has to do, it's going to remember that, it's going to understand that, and it's going to apply that. So let's talk about diet a little bit. Identify and eliminate foods that you are allergic to. Very, very important. Extremely important. Because with allergies, with repeated allergies, you have gastrointestinal system problem, but you are kind of like punching your adrenals all the time because your adrenals have to deal with that as well. Reduce internal chemical stress. What does it mean? Well, first of all, have regular bowel movements, and a lot of people these days do not have for different reasons. So fiber, water, probiotics are the first thing to take care of. A practitioner, or if you come to IHN, you will find out many, many, many other reasons why somebody does not have regular bowel movements. Stay away from refined foods, refined sugars. I believe, or I hope everybody knows that. And the reason is because if you eat, every time you eat the refined sugar, you deplete your body, in your body response, actually you deplete literally the nutrients that are very important, or like B5, B6, and magnesium, that are very, even zinc to some extent, they're very important for stress response. The bad sugars, the corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, that's the worst ones. But sugar comes under different names. People say, yeah, but it's not sugar. Why are you telling me that my supplement or my whatever I'm buying, my bar has sugar? Because it has dextrose and fructose and glucose, maltodextrin, maltose, sucrose. Those are all sugars at the end of the day, right? The better sugars are the ones that are raw honey, maple syrup, if you can have them, right? Stay from alcohol, soft drinks, sodas, caffeine, especially the diet drinks that have aspartame, that have been proven over and over. There are lots of clinical studies that show that literally it's killing the neurons, the brain. So diet, still diet, eat at least 3 meals a day. And then I'm pretty sure somebody's going to say, well, what about why it's only 2 times a day? I want to do, the fasting. That's fine if you can do that. Somebody with weak adrenals should never do that because it weakens adrenals even further. So prevents, first of all, hypoglycemia. And hypoglycemia is the one that further damages the adrenals if you have it. Have enough protein, have it at every meal. Protein in fats, I should have added there as well, because that one gives satiety. Have at least 5 cups of veggies a day, especially greens. They're full of nutrients, full of minerals necessary during high stress, like magnesium, for instance, right? Stay away from xenobiotics. What are those? Everything what is unnatural, even pharmaceuticals sometimes, they're not necessary. People, unfortunately, these days are diagnosing themselves with Dr. Google, and they go to, Shoppers Drug Mart, wherever they go, they just medicate themselves until sometimes it's too late and sometimes they get really, really sick. Drink pure fresh water. I use, for instance, I have water right beside me. I always use water all the time. I sip water all the time long. Because I found, first of all, when I'm talking, when I'm teaching, I get very dehydrated. And whenever you get dehydrated, the energy is going really, really low. So let's talk about some supplements. So these are basic stuff to elevate stress from a diet point of view. Let's talk a little bit about supplementation. And this supplementation that I'm talking about here, vitamin C, B5, or B complex, and magnesium I always call them food for adrenals. If any of these are low, your adrenals are not going to be happy, and they're going to be weakened to the point of the failure. And you don't want to get even close to there. Vitamin C, the bigger the stress, the higher the cortisol we have to make. And that means the higher vitamin C we're using. So that means the rest of the body, the immune system, and the rest of the body uses, they're supposed to use vitamin C, does not have. It's very, very important. The most important antioxidant, most basic antioxidant that we have to have daily through food and supplementation, by the way, right? Maybe some of you know the story that human beings, there was a glitch at some point in our evolution as human beings. We can't make vitamin C. The primates can make their own vitamin C. And even if they can make vitamin C, they eat a lot of foliage. They eat a lot of raw food that is very high in vitamin C. So it's good to combine vitamin C like ascorbic acid with some bioflavonoids. Or I wrote here about the loading test to see, people always ask me how much do I take. I usually test them. I have a different mechanism of testing people for all their supplements. But I should tell them, if I don't test you, or if I talk to you on the phone, on Zoom and so on, just test your loading dose. So 500 milligrams, and take it every hour, like you put another 500 milligrams to see whether you have diarrhea, watery diarrhea. And by the way, if you have a high infection of whatever is going on right now, I had clients, and I have actually family members that they got hit, and they took vitamin C. I can tell you, pure ascorbic acid, 30 to 40,000 milligrams, which is unheard of until now. I never had anybody taking so much without having diarrhea, because it was so much needed to literally get rid of infection. And you can do that in any type of infection, throat infection, whatever it is. Foods with high magnesium level, vitamin C levels, anything that's green, if it's anything that is uncooked. Anything that is cooked, you lose the vitamin C, unfortunately. So broccoli, tomatoes, peppers, sprouts, any sprouts of grains and so on, they're very, very high vitamin C. Pay attention if you're on blood thinners or you know somebody on blood thinners. It has to be monitoring the clotting. For sure, you're not going to take 10,000 vitamin C a day. You stop somewhere around 2,000, or you can take higher than that if you work with a doctor or a practitioner who knows what he's doing there. The second, very important for the feeds, it's food for adrenals, vitamin C, vitamin B5, or pantothenic acid is called. Important for energy production for every cell of the body, actually not only for adrenal glands. And when I say energy production, it's not like having your coffee there and you're going to have that jittery, energy. That's not real energy. That's kind of unnerving your nervous system. And this is really a real energy. Improve stress reaction as well. Necessary for all steroid hormones, including sexual hormones, also steroid hormones. So dosage, I would start for 500 a day if you're really stressed. So sometimes, say if it's adrenal fatigue or adrenal failure, we go up to 1,500 milligrams a day. So a lot. And very interesting, I noted here that some of the, or majority of the stress-related symptoms are common to B5-related deficiency. Tiredness, fatigue, skin problems, numbness in extremities, irritability, restless, pain, and muscle cramps, single sensation, constipation. This is a very interesting one. So if you're stressed out, either you have diarrhea, if you have kind of an IBS or something going on with the gastrointestinal system. But if not, you will get constipated. Why? All the B5, the body has a way of using a very, very important way of using all our nutrients. So whatever it's used for, whatever is most important. The most important is for you not to die of stress. So it's going to be used by the adrenal glands, and it's not going to go anywhere near the gastrointestinal system. By the way, the bowel, the large intestine, needs B5 in order to make that movement so the feces can get out. That's why you end up with constipation. So there's a lot of food high in the B5s, and I would say fish, mushrooms, number one for me, eggs, avocados, fish, chicken, beef, pork, sunflower seeds, sweet potatoes, and lentils for vegetarians, or actually for everybody. Magnesium is number one thing. If you don't take magnesium, please start taking it from tomorrow morning. And actually the same with B complex. You don't have to take B5, B complex, and vitamin C. If you do not take them, your adrenals and your nervous system is not doing well. And I tell that to my students from the beginning of the class, and I hope some other teachers are saying the same thing or telling them from the beginning. Do not wait until adrenals are fatigued. Do not wait until adrenals are weakened. I wish that somebody would have told me many, many years ago about adrenals and taught me what to do. Right? So magnesium is one absolutely must. It's a spark plug for adrenals and energy production of the cell of the body. It's called an anti-stress vitamin, the mineral. It's involved in over 300 different enzyme systems in the body. So 300 enzymatic reaction, chemical reactions in the body are not going to happen if you're low in magnesium because you're stressed out. Stress or high cortisol causes increased magnesium loss, like calcium loss as well, by the way. Foods high in magnesium, there are, again, the greens. The third time I talk about greens, there are dry beans and nuts and seeds. Sea vegetables are really, really cool. If you can have some iodine, because they're usually high in iodine, whole grains, wheat, germ, oat bran, and so on. And again, major stress-related symptoms are identical magnesium-related deficiency symptoms. So you see the commonality there. Anxiety and panic attacks, asthma attacks, bruxism, that's grinding of the teeth to the point that we're like, when you go to the dentist, they put something in your mouth during the night because otherwise you lose your teeth. Depression, fatigue, pain, muscle cramps, headaches, migraines, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, insomnia, irritability, restless arrhythmias. So these are literally the major symptoms actually of magnesium deficiency as well. The last thing I put here as a supplement is zinc. Zinc, it's not only necessary because high cortisol increases the urinary excretion of zinc. So we are losing zinc, we're losing calcium, we're losing magnesium, and many other minerals actually. But these are the main ones that we don't want to lose really. But also zinc is, I didn't talk about here, but zinc is very necessary actually for neurons to talk between them, right? So neuron for the synapses in the brain. Zinc deficiency symptoms are common with some of the stress symptoms. Acne, alopecia. Acne is not only because of stress, but it's going up, actually. It's flaring up with the stress. Alopecia, losing of the hair, and I had clients with that problem. Delayed wound healing, menstrual problems, infertility, especially women. Actually, they're more depressed with stress. Depression, skin, hair, nail problems, joint pains, and so on. A dosage 50 milligrams a day. Probably everybody's taking now because of COVID. 25 milligrams, 30 milligrams a day, just as a precaution. It's a good thing to do. 50 or even 100 or 150, that's under the supervision of a practitioner for different reasons. So foods high in zinc, probably everybody knows about oysters, but some of us do not really enjoy oysters, so even crab. But beef, poultry, the dark meat, baked beans, garbanzo beans, all kinds of lentils, sesame, pumpkin, flaxseed are very, very high in zinc levels. So again, plenty of food there to have daily. Let's talk a little bit about supplementation as herbs. And this is one of my top, topic that I usually like to talk about because herbs save my life, literally save my life. And I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 of them. I think I put the 3 of them of my favorite. And I think all my clients' favorites ones as well. Ashwagandha root, and you can find it in many different brands. Sometimes I use Himalaya brand. Sometimes I use any other brand by itself or in combination with other herbs. It's one of the best adaptogens. So it adapts the body to any kind of stress. And mental stress is one of them, but it could be other physical stress. Right? Adrenal supported recovery. It's anti-inflammatory. It's fantastic because every time you're stressed out, you have adrenal fatigue, actually inflammation, it's like skyrocketing. And many times cannot be a really easy, dampen. Sleep aid, and again, that doesn't mean that if you take ashwagandha root during the day, you're going to be sleepy. No, some people have to take it 2 or 3 times during the day to just keep them cool and keep them functioning. But it's very nice in the evening because it's kind of relaxes your mind, relaxes your muscle, your body too. It's tonic for the whole body, rejuvenator, and it's fantastic for convalescence, so people who have been sick or anything for a long time, especially, or who are still sick and old age as well. It's a memory. It's contributed to some extent to memory enhancement, and one of the mechanisms actually is by lowering the stress level. So attention to not use with women with PCOS or if you are one of them, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because it tends to make it worse. Ashwagandha, in some people, not in all of them, may raise a bit testosterone level, and women PCOS have too much of it. So dosage start about 500 milligrams a day, twice a day. Once a day, many times is enough. 1,000 milligrams sometimes. Tinctures are a little bit different. I gave you an example here. St. Francis, one of my favorite, is Canadian. A brand name. A lot of other brand names have tinctures of ashwagandha in combination or by themselves. And you have to really look at the label. If you're if you're in a care practitioner, then they can tell you different things rather than the label. Rhodiola is absolutely number 1 herb. And this is because I really believe that this saved my life, together with some other things that I'm going to talk about in 2 minutes. The Rhodiola is actually growing naturally only in Siberia. Now it's growing all over the world. It's cultivated for its medicinal properties. It's one of the best adaptogens. Adrenal support and recovery. Is recovered from any kind of illness. And it's very interesting that because it's comes from Siberia, Russians have done for the past maybe 60 to 70 years, hundreds of studies that show, actually many of them show that Rhodiola prolongs life. That we use it even in a cancer treatment. It's not the only thing that we use, but one of the things because it really supports mitochondria, the energy, the stuff in every cell of the body that produces energy, actually that keeps the cell alive. Combats fatigue by increases physical endurance and exercise performance as well. So a lot of athletes are using it with very good results. Anybody can use it, not even if you're an athlete. Attention, some people with high blood pressure may increase the blood pressure. It's very rare, but I did have some cases, so it's going to make you a little bit more hyper. So somebody who is hyper already, you're not going to get rhodiola. Usually we use it if people have very depressed adrenals and they're fatigued all the time. So they wake up in the morning that they really cannot even get out of bed. Or not as bad fatigue, but still fatigue. Do not take it in the evening because you're not going to sleep from it. 250 milligrams is a little bit to start with and see what's working for you. I would not give anybody more than 500 milligrams a day. So again, tinctures are different dosages there. Siberian ginseng, probably everybody heard about Siberian ginseng, Eleutherococcus, adaptogen, adrenal support recovery. It regulates also neurotransmitters, and it's considered a mild antidepressant. That doesn't mean that if you're on antidepressants right now, you could just ditch them and just take them tomorrow, Siberian ginseng. It's not going to work. Right? Counteracts mental fatigue, which is great. Increases energy, stamina, and endurance. Again, not only athletes, in anybody. They're working too much or long. You have, you're a nurse with 10 to 12-hour shifts. That would be amazing to take. Can normalize blood sugar levels, can normalize high or low blood pressure, and increases immunity, that's for sure. Dosages, again, I would start with 200 milligrams. These are not dry herbs, by the way. These are extracts, so they're much more potent than the herbs. They're standardized extracts that I'm talking about. Licorice root, anybody probably or everybody here has maybe some licorice and, the bonbons or whatever. They don't have too much licorice, by the way, they have a lot of sugar. But licorice, it's a nervous, soothes even the nervous stomach. So people have IBS, people have, diarrhea, whatever, like all the time, stomach problem because of nerves. This is amazing. Increases again, like the other ones, it's an anti-inflammatory, endurance, vitality, tonic for adrenals in the whole body. Pay attention that the mechanism of working, it's different than the other ones. And the mechanism is increasing cortisol level. So with people with high blood pressure, usually I don't give it. Sometimes does not have that effect on people with high blood pressure, but many times it does have, so keep away from it. This is mostly for people with adrenal fatigue, so and very fatigued first people. And they're doing great. They absolutely love the licorice root. The only downside is if you take too much, you're going to have diarrhea. That's why a practitioner is going to tell you what's best for you. Ginger root, the humble ginger root I just had this morning, actually, for whatever reason, I usually do it in colder months because it heats you up a little bit. But this morning I felt like I had it in my fridge and I was cooking with it, some chicken with turmeric and all the stuff, and I always put some ginger there, and I made myself a ginger tea. So it modulates the cortisol level to some extent, aids digestion, and is anti-inflammatory. It's considered a mild adaptogen. It's not even closer to as, potent as the other one that I talked about, but still does the trick for some people. So again, you can start it as a herb, or you can just do 1 to 3 cups a day, especially if you have digestion problems or inflammatory problems, especially because of stress. That's a big addition to your diet, I guess. And adrenal glandulars is the second thing that other than rhodiola that really saved my life. You do have to be a practitioner has to help you because glandulars are not something to just tinker about and just to approximate how much to take, as the practitioner tells you exactly how much to take. And some practitioners do not even use them. I use them right from start just because this is the big part of my healing from adrenal weakness and adrenal actually almost shutting down. And what are these? They're literally glands coming from cows, and they're freeze-dried exactly when they're extracted. And literally the whole cell content, everything with all the hormones and nutrients, everything in the proportion that the human being needs and any animal needs is there. And you literally feed yourself with that. And it's not going to eat gland. Other injections, we cannot give injections as practitioners. Only doctors can give injections. Functional medicine doctors and some naturopathic doctors are licensed to do that. But we do for sure capsules, powder in capsule form. Again, I need practitioner for recommendation based on the case. And many times I do compare, I do combine them in parallel with, I tell my client, and I took them too some time ago, in parallel with hypothalamus, thymus, and pituitary gland, a combination depending of the symptoms, depending on what else is going on with the client. For instance, right now, people with adrenal fatigue, if they're getting sick of an infection, they're not going to do well. So adrenal gland and the thymus gland is part of your very, very important part of your immune system. It's very important to take them as glandular. And why is that? In some cases, actually, with very low adrenal function, glandulars are their only hope. Medical doctors, if the glands are almost shutting down and they're diagnosed with that, if you're caught in time, they're going to give you hormones. They're going to give you cortisol, they're going to give you DHA, they're going to give you all the hormones of the adrenal gland. So lifestyle, oh, wow, it's a lot to talk about this. And I thought, like, you know what, maybe I wanted to talk about something much bigger than 45 minutes, and I'm a little bit over that. I'm going to be only 5 minutes here with you. And lifestyle, it's by itself. I can talk about probably for about 10 hours. But here are some ideas if you don't apply them already. Essentially to go to bed every evening at 10 p.m., the latest 11 p.m. And I see that during the pandemic, especially during the shutdown, I remember people telling me they go to bed at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They watch Netflix, they what? And I'm like, no, your adrenals are going to totally be totally damaged. And this will happen with a lot of people, actually. The adrenal glands are actually not regrowing necessarily, but they are regenerating between 9, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning. You miss that time of sleeping, the adrenals are going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Sleep for 8 to 9 hours, whatever you need. Nobody should sleep actually less than 8 hours, maybe 7 hours, and type a nap maybe when you need in the afternoon if you can. Prepare your room and yourself for sleep. No TVs, computer, 1 hour, nothing. No cell phones, 1 hour before bed, dark room. Use sleeping mask if needed if your room is not dark enough. Take relaxing baths. Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate or magnesium chloride salts. You can find them in North America. You can find them everywhere in the health stores. You can find them on Amazon, by the way, in different parts of the world. Add lavender essential oils. But many times when I was stressed out, I always have in-house lavender essential oil. And if I am too frazzled, I jump from one thing to the other one. Sometimes I do that to myself. And you know what? When I recognize, okay, like Sofia, you're like too high because of your own, you do not really manage your stress hormones, then I'm just going to take that essential oil and put like under my nose, one or two, like really a little bit of it, right? And get that in. Immediately your body's going to relax. Lavender oil does that for everybody. Do that with your kids. But with your kids, make sure that you put a little bit of carrier oil, not directly in the skin. Taking the time to sleep as much as your body is asking for, it's not lazy, it's not selfish. Some of my clients tell me, oh, but I'm told that I'm lazy. No, it's not lazy, it's not selfish or optional. It's a crucial part of the recovery if you have an adrenal problem already, if you feel that you are very, very, very depleted. And it's interesting enough that that's not because the body, it's the body's weak, but it's the body's signal that you have to undo something or you have to change something in your life. The body, literally, if you listen to the body, it's going to tell you exactly what you have to do in order to recover. Identify situations and relationships that cause high levels of stress, especially now. Maybe we did that already, right, during this time. It's like you don't have time for somebody who's stressing you up. Get away from them if you can, or reframe the situation, the thought. You can reframe that, or your relationship to stress, relationship to other people can be changed many times. I'm an NLP practitioner, by the way. NLP comes from neuro-linguistic programming. By just talking to people and asking questions, you do change the way they reframe actually the situation. They do change the way they think about different situations. Anxiety many times can go low. Stress can go low. Relationships can be improved like that. A psychologist is always going to be, I'm working with 3 psychologists where I'm working, meaning I'm not a patient, but I do work with the 3 of them, and I send them clients when I recognize that one of my clients in a dire situation, they need one of them. And they usually, talk to all three of them, and say, okay, I like this one, I'm going to go to this one. Energy robbers, identify them in your life, people, situations, work or home environment, and take active steps to change the situation. Don't just sit there and endure it, just do something about it, right? Learn diaphragmatic breathing, and that's many times we call it belly breathing. It's actually talking about the diaphragm that goes up and down. It's right underneath our lungs. And how that is done, you literally, when you take the air in, your tummy has to go out. Many people, when I tell them, can you show me how you deep breathe, they do this. When you do this, you have shallow breathing. The breathing is not even the whole lungs, it's only like the top of the lungs. So diaphragmatic breathing is something that if you have a baby at home, you watch the baby on its back sleeping. That's where you're going to see that tummy going up and down. At some point, unfortunately, people tell you, suck your belly or whatever, stay straight, do this, do that. And we forgot how to do that. Do yoga. If you haven't tried it, at least try it. Give yourself that and try yoga. There's a lot of YouTubes. I do a YouTube almost daily. I have my favorite one, my favorite teacher there. And many times, actually, I do feel that actually saves my day. Take a massage from time to time. This is not something that is and funny that I talk to some, especially females. I have to say that they're like, totally no, I don't do massage. Why? It's massage and touching the body is something that humans we need. That is something that calms us down. If you have a significant other, if it's non-massage therapist, doesn't matter. Just, go on YouTube and find out how do I massage my partner and do it for each other. Right? Go to an energy healer like Reiki, energy medicine, and so on. Laughter is the best medicine. There is an amazing book. If you haven't read it, you should read it. Norman Cousins is the author. He wrote a few books, but that's his first book, Anatomy of an Illness. It's a guy who was supposed to die. He didn't. He was supposed to, deteriorate in his health to the point where to die. And literally, he found the way to laugh and the way to reframe everything that was going on in his life, to change the pain and change the course of his life and change the course of his healing. And it's like, I think it's co-authored, if I remember well. I read it a long time ago. I think it's co-authored with the medical doctor. I'm not sure. But read it. You will see actually how healing is possible from, healing of something that no medical doctor said that healing is possible. The importance of spiritual life. And I'm going to let you just with the idea there, prayer and meditation. I'm pretty sure, I hope that you do one or the other or both of them. One does not exclude the other one, by the way. Meditation is not something religious. So still can stay with whatever religion you're observing without, unmeditating at the same time. The importance of mental support. I'm going to tell you a few books that actually I have them around me. I'm just going to show you how they look like. Practice mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And this is one of the courses that is on the other slide. I'm going to tell you one course that I did some time ago and helped me immensely. Learn skills to identify and challenge the underlying negative beliefs. Negative beliefs that we do have our packaging negative beliefs and how we view life actually from 3 years old. And we have it, fortunately and unfortunately, for some people from our caregivers. That will shape the rest of our life unless we recognize that, hey, something has to be changed, and that can be changed. There are major support in that direction, in books, in courses, practitioners, and so on. Learn how to develop an acceptive attitude towards life experiences. I'm not saying if you're in an abusive relationship, you just accept that. No, I'm not saying that. But accept things that we go through in life. Learn mindfulness from a master. I call him Master John Kabat-Zinn. I have here quite a few of his books. He wrote quite a few books. This is called Healing Power of Mindfulness, The New Way of Being, a very basic one. I think I started with Falling Awake, How to Practice Mindfulness in Everyday Life. This is so beautiful, actually. Anyway, so read it. I cannot talk highly enough about John Kabat-Zinn to do a service to his books. this is my favorite one, the same author. Wherever you go, there you are. Mindfulness meditation in everyday life. And I have it, actually, it's very well read. And I have it beside my bed, and many times I'm just going to open in the evening. I'm just going to do whatever, wherever I open that book. Other books, what you say when you talk to yourself. Interesting enough, there's a lot of studies done by psychologists, psychiatrists. It seems that consensus is that we're more prone, all of us, more prone to think, first of all, the negative stuff, and very rare the positive stuff. And it's a way of surviving, actually, right? We're wired like that. That means that we need a little bit of work to go the other way around. And this is what we say to ourselves in our head, how are you? What is it happening with you? And all that stuff. It's very important. Read the book. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I read this over and over and over again. And I did those meditations many times. They're very, very, it's not even meditations, mantras. And you can even record yourself, actually. Joseph Murphy's book is one of the most read books in the world, actually. Any book by Jon Kabat-Zinn, I'll just show you some. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. If you have not read this book, please buy it tonight. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is going to change totally the way you think, totally. I would introduce my children to that. If they're old enough, maybe 15 years old, 14 years old and up. This should be, to me, this should be actually one of the books studied in school. Courses that changed my life, changed the life of a lot of my clients. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. It is covered by All Hip in Canada, by the way. If it's done with the doctor training that, you have to do, I think it's 2 years if you want to be somebody who does this in a group with clients or with patients. You have to go about 2 years in university. U of T has a course. And this is for practitioners that are already some kind of practitioners. Some of our practitioners, for instance, some of our IHN, people who finished IHN, some of our students did have a friend actually who did this course, and it's facilitated right now. It's a 9-week course. I had clients that were even suicidal going through this course. We're not suicidal anymore. And obviously, I work with them too, supplementation, other NLP on the stuff. But this course did the biggest turnaround in a lot of the cases I have, serious cases that I had in my practice. A course with Dr. Joe Dispenza, who wrote that book, Breaking the Habit of Doing Yourself. He wrote quite a few other books, started with that one. Progressive Intensive course is online now, so you can, and it's very cheap. I paid, I think, about $700. Now I think it's $299, both of them together. So check it out. Physical activity. If any of you does not do it yet, and I always said that one of the good things about the pandemic and shutdowns is that I see a lot of people took walking. A lot of people started canoeing. A lot of people started running. A lot more people than before are active, right? So again, light exercise. If you're already damaged adrenals, already fatigued, and have stress problems, then things like Tai Chi, walking, yoga, light exercise, not like running and stuff like that. Exercise normalizes cortisol level and cholesterol too. Insulin, blood sugar levels, growth hormone, thyroid, improves the cell function, decreases depression. Remember that dancing and making love are exercise too. Hopefully it's more than exercise for you, but think about those pleasurable activities and something that you can do with your loved one. Get outside. And I hope you're doing it. I'm doing it. I'm blessed that I live in right on the Humber River Park, a big park in Toronto, on the Humber River, and I'm there every day. And I see that from a balcony in my living room. Practice earthing is something that I do often, almost every day. Going outside in your yard or in a park, anywhere where it's grass or even mud, doesn't matter. Something that's earthy. Improves the blood viscosity, heart rate variability, inflammation, cortisol dynamics, sleep, reduces stress as well. So do it for half an hour to 1 or 2 hours. You don't even have to. Sometimes I'm just going outside in the park, and I'm reading a book or something. I even do some work many times, and I just sit on my bare feet on the grass, and it does the trick, especially if you are like I am. I'm teaching online for the past year and a half, and sometimes I have 8 hours of teaching a day. That's a lot of radiation. Earthing is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, your nervous system is going to really go down. So conclusion here, have a moderate lifestyle with high quality foods, regular exercise, adequate rest, as much as you need, not as much as anybody else needs. You have to know yourself. Deal with stress in your life, get away from stressors as much as you can. Develop a healthy attitude, change belief systems. It's possible. It takes some time, but it's possible. You have to start somewhere. Help your adrenals with supplements, ask for professional help to have an individualized approach, not like just going to, here and there and not knowing what to do. Or maybe sometimes going in circles, and you get better and then you get worse, you get better and you get worse. Spend as much time as possible in nature, replenish your batteries, so to speak, and love yourself. And loving yourself means all of the above: exercise, good food, be in the company of people. We people are social beings, so do the best out of the circumstances we're in. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, Sofia, and thank you everyone for being here today. And if you're interested in the program, if you even just feel a bit of a pull or a draw to it, I would encourage you to get working on your application. We got a new semester starting in a couple weeks. Send in your applications early next week, and you're still going to have a program advisor reach out to you and still talk through the program. So if the timing's right, great. And if it's not, then that's okay too. But if you're feeling that pull, that curiosity, like something's calling you, then I would suggest start working on that application.